All right, welcome to the Spark, you guys. This is season 2, and I'm so excited to be here and bring this episode to you. The Spark is a show to encourage, inspire you, and give you hope, which is a movement to help you to live a holistically healthy, balanced, and purposeful life. I am Danielle Phelps from Passion Profit CEO. I am the life and business strategist here, and these lovely co-hosts of mine are going to introduce themselves.
Hi, I am Nicole Nelson. I am a blogger at Homestead to Heaven where I share encouragement and practical tips to help you navigate the beautiful and sometimes messy balance between real life and your biggest dreams and ideals by fostering faith, family, and community. So glad you're here.
All right, my name is Jamie, and I am a health coach. I'm married, I have children, and I'm still working full time. So I understand juggling family life and work life while building a business. But I'm a health coach, and I focus on, of course, nutrition and fitness. But what I really love doing is getting to the root of the struggle with that, which deals a lot with emotions. So. Yeah, happy to be here.
All right, guys. So, this episode, we're going to be talking all about relationships and, in particular, friendships. And what better episode than to bring my best friends on with me and to have this conversation? These girls have been with me through the thick and the thin over the past, oh gosh, 5-ish years or more. And it's just an honor to have these women in my life. And that's truly where the spark has originated from, the friendship that we have in the background. And we want to bring more of that to you guys. Recently, God has had it on my heart to just bring this show back. Nicole and I used to do this a couple of years ago. And it's just fun to bring some of these real deep conversations about just life and being vulnerable with the struggles that we go through and different things, and to just bring some awareness, some hope, some love, some support, and even bring in, other fabulous women. We have guest spotlights and different things here on the show to bring other mentors and other leaders into your space so that you can learn from us, our wisdom, and all of those things. So today we're going to kick it off by talking about relationships. I know um personally, on Facebook, different things, I've saw a lot of people just making that statement, gosh, I wish I had a best friend. And I can remember way back when I was depressed, and it was like I had friends. I went from high school and then having friends to then marriage and having kids. And once I had my kids, it was like my friends disappeared. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Did y'all experience that? Is that how it was for y'all? But yeah, like it's just Nicole, you were supposed to talk.
I was making sure. Um, yeah, so ish. It was complicated. I feel like it's complicated because they're still in my life in certain degrees. One of my best friends growing up, she's now a cloistered nun, so it's a little hard to stay. I could email her, but it's a little different. But yeah, there was this big, and part of it, like I blame myself. Because I was a homeschooler, but we had this really big homeschool group. I had some really close friends, and I knew them since I was like 3, 4, 5, 8. I knew them since I was little. And we developed these friendships, had, all the way through high school. And I went off to college and I ended up getting pregnant before we were married with my boyfriend, then boyfriend, now husband. And growing up as a very devout Catholic girl, I was naive and was like, that'll never happen to me. And my friends were like, that'll never happen to any of us. And so when it did happen, there was almost like for them, from what I understand, it was almost like I don't know, I forget, I'm not sure about the word I'm looking for, but almost a sense of like disbelief, or there was a different word for it, but I can't think about it. Think of it. And for me, I felt isolated and abandoned. Um, and since then, like I said, we've kind of mended. It's not the same, but Yeah, and it's definitely different. I found adult like rehab having to figure out how to actually create new friendships as an adult is a totally different experience. And I know we'll be getting more into that as we continue.
And Jamie, what was it like for you? Like that transition into adulthood? Did your friends stay from high school or was that different?
Um, I would say so. I have four best friends from high school, and we still, so it's not that often. We all kind of went in different directions. And um, yeah, when I first went off to college, I met friends there, and I'm still in touch with some of them. But as far as having like really intimate friendships as an adult, it has definitely become a lot more difficult because everybody has their own lives and they're busy with their families. But I think that I have realized that as I have grown and learned who I truly am and have become more authentic to myself, that has been a huge journey, but it has been so much more important to me to have like just a few really close friends myself. It has allowed those people to come into my life where we're like really close. Probably some of the few people that I'm really close to now is I have better relationships with them probably than anybody my whole life. So yeah, I feel like when I was a kid, I was just friends with everybody. And
Mhm.
it just is interesting, growing into adulthood and going through those struggles and kind of navigating life and figuring out who am I really. So yeah, I'm still friends with those four and we still talk here and there and see each other, but it has definitely absolutely changed into adulthood for sure.
Yeah, for me, like Nicole said something there, and it was like, it was on me. I feel like whenever I was depressed, like it was on me. I wanted people to reach out to me and check on me. And it felt like I was constantly the one who was reaching out and checking on them, but nobody would ever reach out and check on me. And then I just kind of just stopped. And then that's when I started feeling that loneliness and all of those things. And it had to get back to a place where I had to really think about those relationships and what was being created and how I could make them more meaningful and different things like that. Um, but in that too, like there are different posts I've seen on Facebook, and there's like this one that it's like people do have different lives, and it's fine that friendships, are just, spacey and you only meet up once a year or whenever. But when you get there and you connect with them, like it's like no time has ever passed. But then you have this other post, and it's like, I desire those deeper, meaningful relationships. And it's like, there's a big difference there in a relationship that is just a friendship versus the best friend relationship. And what I've noticed with that is, when people are saying I want that best friend relationship, they're wanting that sisterhood. And that's what we have created here behind the scenes. Like it truly is a sisterhood. But what I've noticed with it is there's a lot of effort that goes into it. Like we literally talk on a daily basis, and that's what I was yearning for. Those people who, it was that sisterhood. I'm an only child, but I wanted that girlfriend, that sister that, I could run to at any moment and talk to anything about. And when you guys come along, like it was just a blessing in disguise, and that this has continued as long as it has. And we've talked, if not daily, on truly a weekly basis. And our relationships are just as strong as they are. And so when I saw these other posts and people were saying they wanted a best friend relationship, I can relate to that just so much, because I remember that place of not not having that sisterhood feel and yearning that inside of me. So do y'all want to speak to that? Like, did y'all feel that in y'all?
I think you have a good distinction there because when you said earlier about the people who said, yeah, we can just come back to where we left off and everything's great. And then the others who I really just want that close best friend relationship, you have to think about, well, the people that you can go back to and just pick right off, didn't you have that deep relationship with them at some point in your life? And for a lot of us, I think it's childhood because we had the time and a different, like as children, we're not tied to like time is different. Our responsibilities are different. And we don't suffer from a lot of the guilt that comes as we grow into adults around whatever, the various responsibilities around whatever it is. And it's more of a free friendship. Um, we can just freely be ourselves, I guess is what I'm saying. And a lot of times those friendships are the ones that I know that's in my experience, the ones that I can go back to and like, yeah, we can pick up where we left off anytime. Like again, my one of my best friends from as a kid who's now a cloistered nun, whenever we do get together or see each other or talk to each other, it's just like old times. Nothing changes in the sense of our ability to relate to one another because we had that deep friendship for so long um, in the very beginning. And I think now we yearn for that now, and we have different people now, and there are different people in our lives, but we still have to put in that work. And it's that work as an adult that is so much harder because there is so much, I think, what was I saying before about the dynamic of we're free to be ourselves? Well, we don't feel as free to be ourselves. Um, we have a lot more responsibilities. Many of us have children, like you said, lives of our own. They have lives of their own. And it takes a lot of intentionality to build those kind of relationships, and it takes a lot of time. And I think part of it is we didn't see, in hindsight, we don't look at the time it took to build those past friendships. And so it's really, we get impatient. We're in an age of instant gratification where, friendship isn't an instant gratification thing. Friendship is a slow, intentional process that is worth it if you're willing to put in the effort and wherever you're willing to put in the effort.
100%. And I feel like, you said time management, and but it gets harder as adults because we do have our own lives, and it's not just our own schedule that we have to look at. We have to look at their schedule, especially, I know, Nicole, you're all about in person and having in person coffee chats with your friends and different things. And it's like, I value virtual because it's just easier to me because it's just like, hey, let's just send a message and pop over a message of, hey, I'm thinking about you or whatever. And that's so much easier versus what you do of actually having to get both of your schedules together and putting in even more time and effort. Because I don't know about you, like with where you live, but actually going to a coffee shop, which you invite people to your home and go to their homes, I think. But it's like that time that it would take to even go to that coffee shop or other things that can be an hindrance on our schedules sometime because that is the world that we live in. We live in a busy world these days, and it really takes a lot of effort to have a slower paced schedule.
And that's why it's so important to be intentional with the things that we choose to bring into our lives. It's intentional to be intentional with the friendships. Um, because if we and to understand our priorities and where those are, like for like just like you said, your priority isn't as much with in-person friendships, and that's okay. Mine is, and that's okay. Like we can each have different priorities around friendship, but you have to understand what yours is in order to then move forward to develop whatever type of friendship you want with the type of people you want to develop it with. And I think that's a big key is just understanding that reality and understanding what it is exactly you're looking for when it comes to friendship.
100%. And understanding your goals, like what, just like you said, like it's really understanding what do I want with this particular relationship, because that's just like, in person, I'm more about my own family. It's like my in-person time is reserved for those people in my household. Like I want those deeper, meaningful relationships with the people in my household more so than those outside. But it doesn't mean that I don't care about outside, but it's very much, I'm very mindful, especially with my energy as that ambivert who leans more to the introvert. I do want to think about my own energy and have space for that energy and be able to feel high vibe when I do go out and meet those people so that it doesn't, because of the energy, just if I feel blah, that's not, Jamie, was it you that posted the other day? And it's about bringing joy to friendships. Like, and it's like that right there, that's what I want to be able to bring to the table whenever I meet with my friends. It's I want to be my best self and be able to bring a good energy to the table. Go ahead, Jamie. Tell us about that post.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a podcast that I had listened to, and so I just like this little snippet that one of them had mentioned. It would just like really like meant a lot to me because they were discussing the love that is inside of us that we're designed with, and how in relationships with people, whether it's marriage or friendships or whoever, like how different it would be when we are coming into a relationship every day with the intent of how can I bring joy instead of focusing on what the other person is doing and thinking about like what can they do for me so that I feel loved.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah.
Yeah. And that's a powerful thought to think about it in that sense, because it's like how can I bring joy to this friendship and feel instead of feeling like I need to go and get something out of this friendship. And it's like, oh, what a powerful thought when you think about it like that, especially for, those people who are struggling mentally with those negative thoughts and things like that. Like that's where I was when I was depressed. It was literally, I want somebody else to check in on me. And it's like, oh, whoa, me. Like, let's sit in the pity here of feeling lonely versus, oh, there may be somebody else out there that's feeling lonely too. How can I bring joy to their life and make them not feel alone? And once I had that mindset shift and went back to my old habits of reaching out to other people first, but again, I did it mindfully. Who are those people that I want to bring joy to versus let's just try to spread myself too thin and keep in contact with everybody. I really had to pick and choose. And even in my business, y'all know, like I love Messenger. I love getting in. I love having those voice conversations and talking. But even so, when I'm doing that with my clients and different things and prospects and different things and checking in on them just because I simply care, I still have to be mindful of, okay, introvert energy. Like, how many people can I connect with in a week's time without burning myself out? And, what does that look like? So obviously, there are those favorites, you might say, that I have, which I feel bad about saying that out loud. But there are those favorites that I have that I love connecting with. And it's like I do check on them more just because my heart is bigger for those people. But again, it's that energy that comes when you talk to those people. And I like that. And it's like, but again, that's again me wanting that out of that relationship versus thinking about those other people more often and being like, oh, let's bring some more joy to them and doing more reach outs and things to those other people that it doesnesn't always, bring that high vibe energy to myself.
Yeah,
And I
I
do
agree. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead, Amy, you're fine.
No, I was just gonna say though that like it brings me so much joy, and I think for most people it brings so much joy to do things for other people. And so it's like the energy just like it escalates so quickly when you like go in with an intent of how can I bring joy to this day and to these people. And it just I don't know, it just like it's energizing in itself. You know what I mean?
So true.
Yeah.
I think the only, I don't know if it's a caveat or whatever, but thing we have to be aware of as well is when we're going in, this was me. I would try to do things for other people to as I was building friendships in a new place years ago. But in my conscious um intention was to, in a way, bring joy to other people and bless other people and help just these other moms. But then subconsciously, and when I was really honest with myself, I was hoping that by being the friend that I wanted to have to them, that then they in return would be the friend that I wanted to meet. And it has to be the no strings attached, bringing the joy, because then we are still going to be left. If we go in with the strings attached, we are still going to come away bitter in some or resentful eventually at some point in time. I think just one thing to just be aware of and be really honest with ourselves. around that. I think Jamie, with especially you said you do a lot with health and emotions. I feel like you could speak a lot to that with like boundaries and healthy boundaries around friendships.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what you just said. Yeah, the boundaries and just learning how to not have such a codependent mindset in relationships. And that takes a lot of work to like become aware of the things that you're doing that's codependent. And yeah, boundaries is definitely absolutely necessary because then you're just going to be, like you said, it's a subconscious thing where we yearn to have relationships that are reciprocating our love for them, of course.
Mhm.
But it can be really disappointing when you feel like or have the expectations that, of course, they would want to do that because that's who I am. Um, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah. And
I
so
don't know.
go ahead.
I think- I was just gonna ask, like, how would you like, first of all, be understand that you have that, bring that awareness to yourself, and then second of all, like, really, I know it took me a while to like just figure out how to move forward without also having the strings attached. Like, it was kind of there whether I wanted it or not for a while. Like, do you have any tips for navigating that better to like, I don't know, get over it faster?
Mm. To like get over
Or
like the codependency or getting
yeah,
over, yeah.
in a way.
Um, I think that it happens in some of the most subtle ways. So I think that it's really like having awareness that it's actually happening. I'm trying to think of an example. Um, okay, like I'll use an example that's pretty personal, like in my marriage in the past. Like if I do something and you get like a certain tonality or something that's like, oh, that's disappointing, and it would make me feel like, oh, like I better not do that anymore because I don't want to deal with the difficult emotions that come up as a response. And it's like you finally get to a point where it's like they can have that reaction. It's okay. Like I'm still safe and I need to just show up as myself. And when you start doing that, it shifts everything because it's like, oh, it actually is safe. And me being myself and not being a certain way so that I don't get a negative reaction actually has helped heal him as well.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Does
Yeah.
that make sense? I'm
Yeah.
trying to,
It
yeah.
does. And that
Yeah.
brought something up in me because, in the emotional sense of all of it, there are times like when I see old friends and they have these new friends and it's like I feel that jealousy a little bit and it's just like how do I handle this? Like I want that to be me. And
Mhm.
it's like but you have to deal with those feelings, but again I think that's where the vulnerability comes in, and I think sometimes as adults we still struggle with just saying what we feel sometimes and just being open and honest about that because we often feel like some of those emotions we have are wrong versus being able to just handle what they are and to voice those and just be honest about it.
Mhm. And what you said, Jamie, with just like reminding ourselves, I think that's like a big thing, I guess, really with the whole thing is constantly reminding yourself you're safe. It's okay for them to have the emotion that they have. Like they're allowed to have their emotions as well, or their response as well. And that's something like even I think more recently I'm starting to discover, even as like we moved recently and have been developing new friendships. And I've started finding myself slipping back into that of, oh goodness, I can't say X, Y, and Z, or I can't do X, Y, and Z because what if this person doesn't respond the way I hope they would respond? And I'm like, no, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. Like you said, you just be yourself and it'll be okay. I don't even know how to speak to that fully.
Yeah, and something else that's really helped me too is like when you have the awareness and then you're just like looking at it from the outside has helped me too to really, I don't know if you've seen other people talk about it, but it is so healing too to observe, not absorb.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's harder. Easier said than done.
Yes. In,
Absolutely.
in the moment, especially, I think it's probably easier like after the fact, like in retrospect. it can be like, oh, next time. But and I guess as you look at the next, I know experience as I've looked at the next time it does get a little easier and it's a little more top of mind. But then you have to like continually build on it, and that's why I know for me in going out and making these friendships in person or even online, um, you have to do it over and over and over again. It's not just a one and done thing. Relationship is relational. It's about back and forth again and again over time. It's not ending. It's never ending. And even those friendships that were like quote unquote past friendships, there is still some form of relationship there. And it's always building and, I guess ebbing and flowing is what's coming to mind. But like it's coming and going in different ways depending on, I guess, the season we're in and what we're being intentional with and what our priorities are, going back to that.
I think too, when it comes to, reaching out to those friends we haven't talked to in a while, I think it just makes it harder because we haven't talked to them in a while and we don't know what's going on in their life. And just like you said, like when you were talking, it was like something come up for me, and it was Jamie the other day. She was doing reach outs for her business, and she's like, "I'm so nervous," and then she got going, and then she's like, "Oh, it was okay." And it's just like, but we get nervous, and I feel like even with friendships, if we haven't talked to somebody in a really long time, that newness and that nervousness comes back of because we are trying to assess, what is their reaction going to be, or because we don't know what's going on in their life. And it's like, and I think a lot of times in our mind we think things, and it's kind of like the fear that Riker has with needles, like we think something's gonna bad happen when in reality nothing's gonna like bad happen. But we kind of question what that reaction is going to be from them. And then if they don't respond, or if something like that, we automatically start thinking, okay, well, it's something with us. I know there's been multiple times, like there's been conversations that just never went anywhere. They never responded. They never anything back to me. And it's like, well, what did I do? And there's been times like where I've asked, like, what did I do? Did I make you mad? Like, because I'm over here really thinking about it. I thought we had a really good relationship and we were friends, and then just nothing. And then you don't get a response. And it's like, what did I do? When in reality, Nicole, that thing that I sent you and I put on stories the other day, and it's like, when we say things, people interpret things different based on what's going on in our lives. And it's just like Nicole and I were talking the other day, and she was saying something, and like I totally just, my mind went over in left field. She's like, she thought I was making her guilty of something, and my mind was just over in left field. It had to do with my business, and I interpreted it completely just different. And I would come back and I was just verbally processing business with her. And she's like, hey, I just want you to know that I didn't feel like this.
Make sure we're on the same page here. Make sure I'm understanding what your response was for. I was like, now, once I understood that she was just verbally processing, her mind went on a tangent. I was like, okay, that works. Sure.
You're not guilty, Nicole. Other people are guilty, but you're not.
And that's the thing we have to keep in mind, especially with virtual relationships, because we're talking, but we're talking over Voxer. We're doing voice messages back and forth. And so it's not real time. We can't see each other's facial expressions. And so even more so, we have to give each other the benefit of the doubt. And checking in is okay. I feel like checking in is good and okay. It's part of communication, part of, again, kind of those, I think it goes along with healthy boundaries, because you're making sure, hey, I want to communicate this to you, or I want to make sure that I didn't overstep somewhere, instead of holding it back and then feeling like there's this rift or feeling bitter or resentful over something that you're actually making up in your mind. Because, she could stand up, Danielle could, I can't talk. Danielle could say something and I could take it a specific way. I could interpret it negatively, instead of, I, I bring it in and just hold on to it and let it fester. And I feel like anything that's not brought to light is just festers, and and it gets moldy. It's like the dank, dark
Mm.
corner of the basement that is gets just worse and worse as time goes on.
Right. And I feel like that's where effective communication comes in, because if you don't ask, it does get to that dark place to where the mold can grow. Like, we have to communicate. And that's why checking in is important. Like, did you mean this when you said this? And that's the thing that's hard with, text messages, because just like you said, even voice is hard sometimes because we can't see their facial expressions. And then when you just have text at all, it takes all the emotion out of it. You can't hear those tones in their voice. And it's really hard to. Sorry, I just thought about commas and punctuation. And it's just like, you don't know. So sometimes we do have to have more effective communication and just ask those questions just bluntly, like, hey, is this what you actually meant?
Right.
You could say, have a good day, and type it out, and someone could think, well, have a good day to you too, you know?
Right. Oh my God.
And then that goes with the mindset that they're in, because if they're one of those sarcastic people, or they have that negative mindset, and it's just like, okay, that's rude. Okay, girl. So when it comes to friendships, because I know we have really put in the effort over the past 5 years to have this deep, meaningful relationship on the back end of things. All of us were strangers in the beginning. And it's like, what have we done? What are some tips that we can give others who are wanting that best friend relationship, but like they don't know where to begin because they're sitting at home, they are alone, maybe they're a mom of small children, friendships with high school friends they're just gone. What can we say to them that helps them to get through this period of time?
I would say be yourself. Like, you have to release the chains of fearing judgment from other people. Be yourself and become more involved in some kind of community, whether it's a church or some kind of social work, or um I met you in a mastermind online, so it's just being more involved in something where there's other people that might be like-minded, and truly just being yourself.
Yeah. Nicole?
My mind's like going a million different directions with this. So I'll let you go first.
Well, I want to build off what Jamie said, because I think being authentic, learning who I was, is one of those things that has helped me to create more of that smaller circle of people that I really do enjoy to be around, because it goes back to, what we say in the business world, niche, and it's like, when we can find those people who are more like us, and it is that smaller circle, it is easier to have those friendships. But that doesn't mean that that's where best friends come in. I feel like the more alike you are, the more best friend relationship you're going to have. But when you have more of that diversity and people are different than you, that's where it gets a little bit on the oppositional side. But that's what, even with us, like, we all three have our own opinions about different things, and we can bring that to the table and we can talk about those things. But there's a new maturity level with that, to be able to talk about those opposing views without at the end of the day saying, well, I don't like your view and we're not friends anymore. Like, it's different. But I have noticed it's easier to be best friends with those people who you do have more things in common with. And I think that was one of the things for my depression too. I wasn't accepting who I was, and I didn't even know the music I liked or any of those things. It was kind of just like, I would just go with the flow, what everybody else around me liked. And it was like, well, once I really started standing up for, okay, this is what I like, again, it was easier to put myself out there and to be able to connect with other people, to establish those friendships, and to see, okay, is this somebody that I want to have a relationship with, and to see where it goes, and all of these things. And in business, like that, I guess that's my tip, is we have to sometimes go first. With Jamie, I reached out to her and I was like, hey, do you want to help each other through this mastermind? And like the relationship just grew from there. But Nicole reached out to me and she was like, hey. And the relationship just grew from there. And it was like, but for both of us in those aspects of just going first and saying those first words to introduce ourselves to each other and all of those things, I feel like that is, my tip of don't be scared to go out there and start and try to start that relationship with somebody.
Right. And also kind of also piggybacking off of that as well, I would say like don't put all of your eggs in one basket. Don't make one person like your quote unquote savior to have as a friend. Like you can have, like Jamie was saying earlier, there might be a few close-knit friends, but let it be a few. Get to know, at first you might have to branch out a little bit more, get to know multiple people. And then as you start to get to know them better, you can pare down, not that you're not going to speak to the others again, but that you'll understand who you want to have even a deeper relationship with or closer friendship with. And know, like, I think one of the biggest things that I had to give up, I had the ideal of one type of friend. I'm gonna have a friend and it's gonna cover all the bases. We're gonna agree on everything, whether it's faith, small business, like entrepreneurial type stuff, lots of kids, homeschooling. Like we're gonna have similarities with all of this stuff. Homesteading, we're just gonna be the same person, And I've come to realize, that's not how it works, especially in adulthood. Maybe a little bit more as kids because of one reason or another. You're kids, you're still figuring things out. But as adults, you have pretty solidified opinions. And it's going to be very rare that you find someone that fits every single check mark. So be willing to have a friend that fits a few of them and another friend that fits a couple other boxes that maybe the other person didn't. And there's this other friend over here that's a few more and they all intertwine a little bit too. Like they have similar check boxes, but not all of them the same because you have different needs. They have different needs and different interests. And like Danielle was saying earlier, diversity is not a bad thing. Like it makes us who we are and it allows us to see different perspectives and view life from a different perspective, whether we agree with it or not. So I think that's like a big thing to remember as you go out and develop those friendships. And then also going back to communication, don't be afraid to give someone the benefit of the doubt as you are moving forward. Give them the benefit of the doubt and give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Like, well, maybe my comment didn't come across so weird after all. Maybe they actually took it a lot better than I am making it up to be, you know? So yeah, I think both those things would be what I, moving forward, getting started with friendship. Yeah.
I can't believe neither one of you said get a quiet friend because if you get one like Danielle, she's going to drive you crazy.
No, I'm a quiet friend, so I like my quiet friends. All my quiet friends out there, I love you. But I really appreciate my louder friends who make me step out of my comfort zone. So thank you, Danielle.
I love you guys. I'm glad that y'all are the quiet friends and listen to me all the time.
Always.
All right, you guys. Well, this has been fun, and I'm glad that we could get together and share some tips and talk relationships and friendships. And is there anything else you guys want to add before we jump off this session?
No.
No? Well, thank you guys for joining us on the Spark. If you have any questions for any of us, you can go to passionprofitceo.com/spark. You can even hop on a call with me or Jamie there if you are, struggling in life, struggling in business, struggling with your health, and you just don't feel like, you can move forward without some support. We are here for you. You can even message Nicole. Her schedule stays a little bit busy. It's hard to even get her on a call like this. But you can message her. Her little there's a little space on there for you to message her if you want to talk more with her. And we just hope you all have a blessed and beautiful day. All right, talk soon.